What is different here today, and what we have tried to do, is instead of the ad hoc relationship, we are trying to forge a relationship on a more formal basis. And that is why we are engaged today in the signing of this Memorandum of Understanding. Now, the purpose of the Memorandum of Understanding, the MoU, apart from establishing a formal mechanism in the relationship between the CCL and the CRNM, is that the parties would have regular consultations and regular exchange of information in regard to trade-related labor issues. One aspect that you have to have clear in this Memorandum of Understanding is that it is reciprocal. In other words, both sides or both parties have obligations that they have to meet. Okay? In regard to the CCL, for instance, they are obligated by this memorandum to attend technical meetings organized by the RNM to which they're invited. And they're expected to make a contribution to that, to those meetings. I'm speaking about a contribution in terms of ideas, in terms of proposals. A second obligation is for them to effectively disseminate to their constituents trade-related information that the RNM provides to them, including information arising out of briefings and so on. A third obligation, they have to provide the RNM with their comments on trade-related issues. In other words, they have to get from their constituents suggestions which would be input, labor input into the formulation of positions. And where appropriate, they may even table papers, formulate papers, position papers that articulate more clearly the perspectives and proposals of their constituents on specific negotiating issues. So those are the responsibilities, four responsibilities spelled out in the MoU that the CCL undertakes to comply with. As far as the CRNM's responsibilities, we undertake to make every effort to attend any meetings that CCL or labor generally may organize pertaining to trade-related issues, to which they invite us, of course. We undertake to include the CCL in the mechanisms for consultation that may be set up for any particular negotiation involving non-state actors. We undertake to brief the CCL periodically on trade developments in general and negotiations, as well as the issues which may need to be addressed by labor constituencies. In other words, the briefing is even broader than the labor aspects. It is for them to understand what is happening in terms of negotiations. And finally, the RNM undertakes to communicate whatever positions are formulated by the CCL to the technical working groups so that it feeds into the process itself. We have in the MoU also appointed official contacts between the two bodies. The official contact on CCL side is Lincoln Lewis himself, and on our side is Mr. Greenwich. The MoU speaks also to funding. and both sides will try to secure whatever funds may be needed. If, for instance, the CCL makes a request for technical work of the RNM and funding is needed for that, both sides will undertake to seek out such funding. The MoU provides for a review of the content of the MoU so that it could be revised if both sides see it necessary to revise it based on the experience or based on new happenings that we feel might merit the incorporation of some other provision, some other undertaking. And finally, there is a provision dealing with the commencement. 30 days from now, this Memorandum of Understanding will be in force. And if it is that one or the other side, somewhere down the line, wishes to terminate the Memorandum of Understanding, as it is quite normal in such documents, you have a provision also for the termination. So that basically is the content of the MoU, and we feel on that formal basis, both sides, in meeting these obligations, will in fact develop a much closer relationship to the benefit of our constituencies, and I should say to the Caribbean as a whole. Let me just, in winding up, simply say that this initiative came from the CCL, and I want to congratulate the CCL for taking this initiative, and in particular, Lincoln Lewis, who comes in here every so often, has discussions with us, has shown a great interest both in what the CRNM is doing and in the EPA itself, but more than that, in how we take forward the EPA process, particularly how it is that our countries can start to benefit and what labor can do in helping the region to extract benefits. So it is a very positive approach that he has taken, and I should say therefore through him, because he's the head of the CCL, the General Secretary in operation, if not the President at this point in time, has taken what I would call a very positive approach to the EPA. And it's important to underline whenever we're talking about the EPA, it is the biggest undertaking that the region has engaged in with a third party, and it will remain so for quite some time because of the range of provisions in there, the size of the European Union itself, the importance of that market for our external trade, the importance of that as a source of investment, as a source of development cooperation, etc., etc. So I want to reiterate my thanks to Lincoln and the CCL for this initiative. And I want to say that we are sufficiently pleased with the content of this Memorandum of Understanding, that the RNM will probably use it as a template for any future MoU that it might sign or wish to have, pardon me, with other civil society groups. So thank you very much.